Amazing. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the last After Hours animation event of 2021. Thank you so much for being here. It's also the largest registered event to date. And a massive thank you to Jeanette for hosting. Just a couple keeping with online stuff. If you could make sure you remain muted just so the recording doesn't have a lot of background noise, that'd be great. Throughout the presentation, if you have a question, feel free to pop it in the chat and I'll do my best to read that out. And there will be the opportunity for a live Q&A at the end. Amazing. Does that sound like I covered everything? I'll dive into the bio now. Okay, so again, thank you so much, Jeanette. Jeanette Fantone is Fantone, sorry, is a Japanese Filipino animator based in Los Angeles, Tongvaland. Her work combines 2D animation and post-processing techniques to capture a world of tactile, dreamy sensibility. Once introduced to After Effects in 2018, she immediately fell in love with its exploratory nature. Almost 4 years later, it's come to firmly root itself as the foundation to her process as a whole. Jeanette will graduate from CalArts in 2022 with a BFA in experimental animation. She has experience working with industry studios, musicians, independent filmmakers, and more. Thank you so much for coming to host tonight, and I'll let you take it away from here.
Thank you, McKenna, and hello, everyone. This is crazy. Let me share my screen. All right, begin the slideshow. Welcome. It is a huge pleasure to be here. I'm super nervous, but I'm really excited at the same time. First, I want to thank McKenna for basically running After Hours all by herself and organizing and managing this space for all of us to come here and uplift each other. And it's really special and it's not possible without her. So we thank you, McKenna. This is something I wanted to do for a while. And I feel like I've come, I'm reaching a place where I feel like I really, really love this one thing in particular. And I would not feel satisfied if I was keeping it all to myself. So I'm excited. I want other people to love this program as I do. Here's a quick table of contents, just so you know what to expect. This will be around an hour. So right now we're in our introduction. Be not afraid. And then we're gonna go over some key After Effects features that are my base that help me expand from there, which is nice. And then we do live demo where you're free to ask questions throughout the live demo and we'll get to you. And then after that, we'll wrap up with some workshop information for next session, next Tuesday. And then I have a super special gift for you at the very end, if you so please. So yeah, let's begin with this After Effects introduction. This program encourages play, and I think it encourages exploration and discovery, and that's basically how you become more confident in it. And I like to compare it to learning how to cook. So you build off what you know, and you have to research what you don't, and you accumulate all this knowledge over time to then apply it in a million ways later. So you're growing purely through increasing familiarity and also a desire to keep using it. A lot of people shy away from After Effects because it is extremely overwhelming to essentially be given access to everything available to you all at once from the get-go, and just not know where to start. So what I'm here to do and what I want to do is make it seem less scary and more like a fun, exploratory, really in touch with your emotions sort of medium, because it is genuinely so fun for me. And I don't know, it's just fun. I want to get that through to people. It's really scary and really overwhelming at first, but once you dive in, that's all you have to do. You just have to break the surface. So yes, today I'm just going to share how I go about my compositing process. And this is all based off of my values, which are like 1, you should have fun making things, and 2, you should make things how you make things. I need to make a disclaimer that there is no correct way to use After Effects. And I don't want anyone to exactly copy what I'm showing you either, because that'd be super boring. And we'd end up with homogeneous After Effects usage, which is not what I want. What I want is to encourage people to get into the program and show us how their voices shine through it. I am just here to give you options and encouragement and convince you that it's not that scary. I promise. It's actually a very beautiful tool. So I'll be explaining everything I go through to an extent, but if you are completely new to After Effects, to kick yourself off, I highly recommend this beginner's tutorial by Ben Marriott. It covers like opening a composition, importing footage, exporting, rendering, keyframing, adding text, adding effects. These are like the foundations to everything. So definitely reference it if you're just starting. But I do encourage beginners to keep watching anyway. And I'm not gonna lie, the technical stuff will be awfully confusing, but I hope you'll feel inspired by what you see, and get a taste of what you can achieve with this program anyway. And realizing that it's very doable. You can do it too. Also, I want to make these slides available afterwards. Same with the recording session, will be uploaded on YouTube. So you don't have to worry if you like miss a link or something, or like a little thing with file setup. You can just come back to these afterwards for free, forever, anytime you want. And then like McKenna said at the beginning, you are welcome to ask questions in the chat while I'm going through this. And if it's applicable to what we're doing at the moment, we'll pause and McKenna will read it out loud to me and we can answer your question right away, and get some nice back and forth. That way, like, you're not left in the dust, and maybe other people have the same questions. So yes, please ask questions in the chat when you have them. Okay, let's get into it. These are my staple ingredients. Oh my goodness. After Effects is the oyster and it is chock full of pearls everywhere. First thing, if you're familiar with Photoshop, I actually think you're gonna get a hold of After Effects perfectly, because After Effects is just Photoshop with the addition of time, and they actually use a lot of the same vocabulary and have similar effects in their database. And also, if you do any sort of editing or image, use an image editing program like Photoshop, you know exactly what you're doing already. It is the same thing with image style treatment, just with videos. So I just wanted to start with this because when I was starting out with After Effects and I was like, put the dots together that After Effects is just Photoshop Premium, it really helped me like wrap my mind around it. It's just nice to have a frame of reference. Okay, so first, let's go over adjustment layers. I'm gonna open up After Effects. Here we go, we got a new composition. I'm gonna open a new comp. So an adjustment layer is basically a blank transparent slate. Right here, we find it in layer, new adjustment layer. And there's nothing on it. It's like completely empty. It doesn't change anything at all. Let me just pop in a solid, don't worry about this part, just so you can see how it's like changing things. Okay. So adjustment layers are amazing. Basically, the layer acts like an umbrella, and when you put an effect on it, it's going to mass apply that effect onto everything underneath it. So let's just put like a blur on it, onto this adjustment layer. And you're gonna see how it, like it's not on the red solid layer, but it's still affecting it because it's underneath. And we can make another one even, just so you can see that if we put one above it, then it's not being affected anymore because it's above the adjustment layer. There's, just remember the hierarchy. It's top down always. So this is fantastic because you can apply multiple effects to multiple layers without having to, you know, like go in here and drag and drop Gaussian blur to like each and every one. No, it's done for you already. We can even put, let's put some noise on this. You can see again how it affects both of them at the same time, even though they're on different layers. Huge time saver, super convenient. And they also help me organize what effects I'm using, and in a specific order, right? So it's really helpful to retrace your steps also. So like if you're like, oh, I don't remember where I put that extra noise, you can just like make these invisible or not and be like, oh, I found it. There it is. So yeah, adjustment layers, huge staple. In the live demo, you'll see how I use them vigorously so much. Okay, let's see. The next thing for me is this thing called blending modes. And blending modes have a range of options. And they are essentially, I believe, I could be talking out of my ass here, but I've been told that they're copying the effect of like exposing photo paper from physical film, and how you expose using different types of light, like layering. And so it's kind of mimicking that layering process, except instead of with analog technology, it's using digital technology. I'll show you. To show them in After Effects, I believe when you start up, you don't actually see them. But if you look in this itty bitty corner on the bottom left, it's going to say expand or collapse the transfer controls pane. And when you click it, you see that guy popping up called mode. It's this mode column. And that's where all the blending modes are. So let's give it a shot. I want to try with this one. I'm going to change the color just so you can kind of see what's happening. Maybe I'll make it like a blue. But you can mix and match different blending modes layered on top of each other. You can go crazy with these. What I encourage everyone to do is just kind of like go through all of them anytime you're working on a composition and just see what you like most, or whatever hits what you're going for. Personally, it can be used like logically, but I also think it's a cool, just aesthetic, personal taste. And you can go as far as using it for like lighting and shading, and we'll also get into that later, but they're cool. They're super versatile. If you see like how that changed how it's like affecting the layer underneath it. And honestly, like I have some of these memorized of what they'll do, but sometimes, I'm being honest, most of the time I just go through every single one and I'm like, ooh, I like that one. I'll just go with that one. It's very spontaneous. And it's kind of just fun to go through all of them and be like, oh, that one's cool. Or like, oh, that one is not what I want. So yeah, it can be fun and very relaxed. Okay, so that's blending modes. Let's see. The final thing, final staple for me that I'm going to go over are called expressions. I'm pretty new to this, and I don't know anything about coding, but that means I can also explain it to you in its most basic terms. Expressions are built-in codes in After Effects, and you can apply expressions to anything that can be keyframed. This is because keyframeable things rely on like their number value to determine what their output looks like. And the expression then just alters that number value in a pattern decided by the code. That sounds crazy, but I personally only use 2 expressions, and they're super useful to me. So let's just work with this layer. The way you open up a layer effect to insert an expression is by, let's say we want, okay, back to square one. We want this circle to just move from left to right over and over again. We'll make a keyframe with a little stopwatch. Let's go forward like what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How about 4 frames? And we'll just move it again. New keyframe popped up. 1, 2, 3, 4. New keyframe. 1, 2, 3, 4. New keyframe. So when we play it, see it just going to the end. But we want it to do that over and over again. And if we wanted to do that over and over again, one way of doing that is just copying all those keyframes and pasting them again, like that. And you just do that over and over. And you're like, I did it. It's going back and forth. But if you're lazy, what you can do is hold down the Alt key, press stopwatch. If you're a Mac user, you press Option, but it's Alt click, and then this expression text box appears. What we can do is type this special one, loop out parentheses, parentheses, and it will loop back these, it just knows somehow to loop back these 4 keyframes over and over. And we just sit back and relax. It's done for us. It saves so much time. It's really convenient. There are a lot of ways to apply this too that we can get into. But it's really nice when you have like keyframed movement, or even if you want a blur to keep doing this, anything that can be keyframeable. I'm talking Gaussian blur, noise can be like looped like this also. So that is the first expression that I like using. The second one is called wiggle, and it's a funny word, but if you imagine a graph with just a straight horizontal line, I believe they call it wiggle because what you're doing with this command is just adding hella sine waves to it. It's just making it wiggle. The command is wiggle x, y, where x is frequency, how many times per second your value moves, and where y is the amplitude. So how much your value changes from its base value. It's just like physics. And you wish you paid attention in high school right now, but it's okay. I got you. Let's see what we can make wiggle. Let's try with Gaussian blur. I'm gonna make that stop. Well, no, never mind. Sorry. Let's try with Gaussian blur and make our starting value 10. So it just has a little bit of blur. I'm gonna use the blue circle for this one. And let's go into effects till we find Gaussian blur. And we find blurriness because that's the input that we want to change. Alt click stopwatch to bring up the expressions text box. And let's do wiggle x, where x is 5 times per second. Oh my God, I'm sorry. The x is 5, so 5 times a second. It's going to change by an amplitude of, let's say 50. So starting at 10 points of blur, 5 times per second, it is going to move within 50 points of 10. It's a lot of numbers, but let's just watch it. And I hope it's not lagging, but you see how it's like kind of pulsing. We can do an even greater number to kind of see how intense it can get. Let's go all the way to 200. And yeah, it's just wiggling the value. It's as if you were like going over here and just spamming it up and down. So yeah, this is very useful, and you can use it for anything that can be keyframed. So position, scale. Scale is my favorite way to use wiggle. What else? Opacity. If you want to flicker, just think about it. Like the possibilities are endless. You're gonna see how this like, oh, that's not really working how I want it to. Oh, because I'm on the wrong layer. Wiggle 450, just because why not? And oh boy, is it wiggling. So this is one of the coolest expressions. And you can apply it in many ways if you like really chaotic work like I do. Can you stack expressions? Do you want to give it a shot? Maybe we can give it a shot at the end, or when I get into live demo. I'd love to give that a shot because I've never tried before. Be kind of funny to have like wiggle on wiggle on wiggle. But yes, that let's see. Those are expressions, and this is a great article that explains a few expressions in wonderful detail, and it has like visuals and everything to accompany each one, you know, showing what they do in their most basic form. They also like even have like the project files if you really want to dig into each one. But this is great. It gives you some expression options to play around with. Okay. So how do you feel? That's it for our immediate level overview. Before we get into live demo, let's take a breath, manifest. This shit is so easy. So please, before we get into this, don't get worried or feel like you're falling behind or even get caught up taking notes. I wanted to do this kind of demo to excite you to dive in, and also to be like really present with you during my process, and also like authentically show you how my brain is working during my process too. So the plan is I'm just gonna talk through what I'm thinking as I'm making decisions and how I go about executing them. And I'll drop little workflow tips along the way as well. And this is just my way of how I do things in After Effects. I hope just watching me go through it like this will be insightful or inspiring to you. And that's what I'm here to do. So let's get into it. It's secrets time. This is what I've been waiting for. Oh my goodness, cold turkey improv. Let's just go in and composite something. Okay. I actually was thinking that I wanted to revamp this this clip from my 48-hour film. Let's see. Oh, one of these. Okay, I wanted to revamp this one. Just that. Really easy, really simple. It's okay, but I know we can go harder. So let's pretend like we're at the beginning with this footage again. We animated it and we have no idea what we're going to do or how we're going to transform it. But we can still use this final output as reference. I'm sorry that this is stuck up here. I don't know how to get rid of it. but it's not really blocking anything. So, okay. Let's make a new composition. All right, she's open. And we're going to import my image sequence using Control+I to import, locate my animation. And in sequence options, you always want to make sure that PNG sequence is checked. Otherwise, it'll just import one image instead of all of them. Go ahead, import that. And I kind of like to organize my folders just so I know where everything is. After Effects can get very, very messy, and you don't want to get lost in the sauce with it as well. All right, so we got our footage. Let's drag and drop it. There she is. Play it back. It looks good. So it's very flat now. Let's start with a background. And we can do that with a solid. Drag it underneath. Thank you. I know I made her so sexy. And I know there's like different ways to change fills, but I like to change the color with using the fill effect. I don't know why. We got some questions in chat. I animated her in TV Paint. Favorite way to animate. Oh, I didn't realize I was on 20 FPS. Well, there is no reason other than me not realizing that it was in 20 instead of 24. Thanks for catching that. Okay, we're saved. Thank you, Harry. Okay. So now we have our cute boxer lady prepping for the fight. You know, there's a cool way to like shorten clips is pressing Alt bracket like that. On Mac, it's Option bracket. But just in case you didn't catch that, Alt plus bracket to make it shorter like this. You know, you can even make it longer if you want. This is very convenient, you know, instead of having to like go all the way to the end and then drag it all the way. And also the way to shorten it is just with the inside bracket. So coming in like this, slicing it up. You can even do both at the same time. Makes you feel very powerful. But that's a great workflow tip. It just makes everything go a lot faster. So let's see. I liked the like dramatic effect of the lighting that we had in this first composite. Like, yeah, like this harsh cut, just like slicing down the side. So I want to go for that again. So I suppose I can copy paste this solid layer so that we have another one. And I'm going to change it to like a gray. And I'm actually going to make a mask to, sorry, I'm going to make a mask for this lighting. The way you zoom out of like this view is Control and the minus button. And then to zoom back in is just Control plus. But this is a cool way to, if you're working like outside of the scale of just what your frame is, you can go in and out of it. And I'm going to use the pen tool to mask this. Let's make our lighting line. That is not what I want. Oops. Okay. Okay. So there's the mask. Looks pretty cool. But I don't know, I want a little more depth. So I think I'm gonna add a feather to the mask right here in mask feather. Ooh, there we go. Now it's a little more like it's like beyond her. We're adding a sense of depth. But the character herself is looking pretty flat. And I want to accentuate her presence in this space, makes it feel like you can really reach out and touch her. So Control plus to zoom back in. If it goes too in, you always have this option of fixing the magnifier and just making it fit. And then it's perfectly in frame. Anyway, I know I'm going quite fast. Sorry, let me slow myself down a bit. Anyway, this is our character layer. And I kind of want to add a shadow to her so that it really feels like the light is shining down on her. And one way you can do that is going into like right clicking on the layer and selecting layer styles, inner shadow. Ooh, oh my goodness. And look at all these options. So many things you can do. So you can make the distance longer, more drama. You can change the angle, right? So it feels like it's really coming from below and the light's really coming from above. And I don't know why they call it size, but this is feather. And that's nice. Okay.
Jeanette, when you imported this sequence, did it have a transparent background?
It did. Yes. Yes. I like to do transparencies on the backgrounds all the time. Just so I have the option. And it's so much smoother and cleaner than like keying it out. I used to import things with a green screen background. Oh my God, what an atrocity. But no, you can live life really cleanly now. I gotta, let's add a little noise. That looks great. She has so much texture now. Okay, well, would you look at that? And there's actually, to tie it back in, there's a blending mode that is dictating how this light falls on her body, depending on the color. So if we like change the color, you can see that it's being multiplied in. If we change the blending mode, see, this is just like where you could get really crazy with playing around. But you can change the blending mode of how the color is interacting with her. For simplicity's sake, I like the black with multiply. But yeah, look at her. She's transformed so much already. Let's take a breather. Let's like lean away from our screens and just look at her. She looks great. We didn't have to do a single thing of shading. Like we didn't have to go in and draw every frame of shading. It's done. It's done already. Oh my gosh. It's not even alchemy. I'm not putting anything in. It's just coming out. Oh my gosh. I want to feel more light shining down from above. Because this from below is fine, but it's not all the way like I want. I want more depth. I want to feel like, there's like an angelic moment happening. So the way that I like to do character lighting is kind of crazy. Not really, but we're gonna take out an adjustment layer and we're gonna trim it using Alt bracket. Oh yeah, we're applying it all over. And let's give it a shot with like, let's go maybe like hue saturation. And let's just lighten her. So you see how everything's lightening because the adjustment layer is the umbrella. It's going top down. But we can curb this. Spooky, spooky. I'm taking the character, the animation layer, copying it, I'm making another one, and I'm putting it on top. And I'm gonna go to this column, track matte, and do alpha track matte to the animation layer. And it is just going to be confined for some reason. Oh, I did it the wrong way. I think it's this way. No. I think I did something wrong. Okay, well, this is fine for whatever. What it's supposed to do is, oh no, I think I did it fine. Let's do fill. I'm confusing myself. Okay, perfect. We did it right. So what the track mat is doing is basically imposing all the pixels from the adjustment layer onto the layer above it that is being alphaed, which is the boxer lady. And so you'll see it'll just follow her around, which this actually looks really cool just as a concept, right? But not what I'm going for. But that's cool. So we don't need to fill anymore. We know what you want.
Is a track mat comparable to a clipping mask in Photoshop?
Oh, I've never used a clipping mask in Photoshop, but I assume.
I think so. I think so.
Okay. Thank you, Mercy. That is cool. Okay. But I assume so. Yeah, it is like just imposing something on something else, blah, blah, blah. So now we have our lighting. What I'm going to do is I'm using the ellipse tool, which is also a mask, different kinds of masks here, to basically cut out this bottom section. And it's not doing it the right way, but that's okay because there's an invert button. And we can also feather this to really make it feel like, yeah, now it really feels like the light is shining down on her. If this wasn't here, maybe that's cool, but it's not the same as that. What I also like to do with these is play with a blending mode on them, see how it affects. It's very slight, but you can see how it's changing, how it's interacting with the colors underneath it. Some don't do anything at all. Some are a little too crazy like that. But let's go with screen. I like how screen is interacting with that. Okay, let's give it a look. Let's let it render out. All right, okay. So now I'm at a point where I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with that. But how do I feel? How does this make me feel? What do I want it to feel like? I never really, oh, what was that?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
The question from Sophia asking, can you control the percentage value that a blend mode can be applied?
That would be so sick. But the only way I've found is just using opacity. Right, because it's like, I don't know, just tuning it down. But that's kind of the only way I found. It'd be cool if you could affect just the difference by a certain percent and like do something else. But opacity is like the best way to go. Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at this. I'm like, this feels all right, but it's not enough for me. I want more. I need more effects. This is a beginner's tutorial. No, this is for hardcore people. Okay. So we're not calling it a day yet. I would say, I would see this in the compositing process and go, okay, it's going in a direction I like, but it doesn't feel done to me. So how far can I go where it pushes me and yet still aligns with the scope of my goals? So I feel like I've achieved one aspect of it, which is a convincing sense of depth that satisfies my logical brain, but my monkey brain is telling me I need more effects. So it's good, but it's just good. And I'm not satisfied yet. So when I reach a point like this where I'm like, okay, one part of it is done, but I want to go further, I like to pre-comp what I have. And a pre-comp is basically putting everything in a neat little folder. That's it. It's just putting it in a folder. And you can apply effects onto the conglomerate layer instead of just have all these separate layers. It's a nice organization tool. And I like using this one, move all attributes into the new comp. and adjust comp to the time span of the selected layers. If you don't check this, it will make a composition that goes all the way to the end of the timeline, which is not really helpful sometimes. But I like doing this. It just keeps it nice and succinct. And it pops up into our composites folder. How nice. Okay, so let's go nut. More adjustment layers. And I want to add more effects. How about, for the sake of this demo, every new effect just gets its own adjustment layer, just because. I want to go for a glow, because I think that's gonna just like add something, makes her feel holier, more radius. I kind of like I like softer glows, not as intense. There we go. That's quite nice. What if we, so like this is fine, this is cool, but like what if we like put a wiggle on the glow intensity? Think about it. And it kind of looks like the light is flickering. So we're gonna Alt click the stopwatch, wiggle. How about like every 5 seconds, it moves by a value of like 0.2. Just throwing numbers out of my ass. I don't know if you can see that at all. Maybe it's too slight.
It looks great on my end.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So it's like kind of flickering. You're like, ooh, something's happening. I like the 0.2. Okay, that's nice. I kind of want to add, copied and pasted my adjustment layer. I want to add a blur. I like having edge blur for some reason. So I'm making a mask. We're going to invert this mask because I only want it on the edges. And then I'm going to feather it. Oh my God, look at that. Now, like, just her legs are kind of blurred out, but it like really centralizes your eye to go right for like just her, like her upper body, which is nice. What I want the eye to go right to the upper, like left quadrant. So we're getting what we want. If we play around with the top-down hierarchy though, like what does it look like if the blur is under the glow? It doesn't change that much. Okay, it doesn't change that much. That's fine. Okay, and one more thing. You can never go wrong with a little grain. This is my salt and pepper. I love grain. You always want to set preview to final output so that it's not just that little box. And I like 3. 3 is what I usually do. Sometimes I'll be like, it's too intense, make it monochrome. Okay. Let's let it mask out. That looks cool. It's like so much more alive than before. If we open the last pre-comp, even the difference from this to this one, I don't know. It's doing something. It's doing something. Oh my God, I'm having a ratatouille moment, you know, like when he like eats the cheese and it like all combines together. Okay, one more. I want to do levels actually, just to bring in more intensity to the color. Ooh. Okay. Improv. What if we, oh, okay. So this is not planned, but I really dig how this looks. So what we just did is like maxed out the levels essentially. But that looks really cool. What if we just went with this? Oh, this looks quite amazing. Okay, let's go with it. I'm gonna pre-comp this because we're having like a milestone right now. So let's just pre-comp this so that my brain can reset. Another pre-comp. If you want to be super good, name your pre-comps so that you know what's going on for sake of writing this wave and how I like to work, it's just pre-comp on pre-comp. Make an ugly file. No one else is going to touch it as long as you understand what's going on. This is fine. Okay, so getting to this step by accident is sparking off a lot of ideas in my mind. This is how I love to work. It's a lot of like spontaneous, just like, oh, what if I maxed out this value a bit? My brain is firing off a million different mind maps right now. So I'm gonna go with what is grabbing me the most. This looks pretty cool. Let's see what happens when we like go back into the second pre-comp and like, I don't know, maybe some of these are affecting it in ways we don't want. Ooh, what is this? Okay, so if we take the glow off, it changes the look a lot. And I kind of like that lessened intensity. The drama, right? It's like just her silhouette, the drama. So that's when it really comes in handy having your adjustment layers separated out like this, or at least into like little groupings. Because you can kind of be like, I'm gonna put that on the back burner. I don't know if I want this yet. Okay, so she's very dark. And I'm wondering if I can just turn down the intensity a bit. Okay, we're getting somewhere. I think the wiggle on the glow was a mistake. We're gonna alt click that to just erase that. Okay, we're getting somewhere. I like that. Let's put some texture on it. It needs a little pizzazz. So I have some textures ready. I have a still and I have a loop. And it's fun to use both of these together. Do I make my own textures? Sometimes if I'm feeling cheeky and lazy, you just go, you take a little internet search, get a high res image and just loop it around. But other times I just, one of these is just like a bathroom paper towel from the CalArts bathroom that I scanned, and I'm like, that looks pretty good. Let's see. So let's go for like this paper texture. Looks pretty nice. I kind of want to adjust the levels a bit like this. I don't know why, just cause. And this is when with blending modes, you really want to use these for your textures, because it just brings something out somehow, some way. So look at that. It's like it's imposed on it already. And I'm feeling quite lazy, so I'm not going to go further with this, the still, but with the loop. So this is my paper texture loop. And you see how it doesn't loop for long enough? What you can do is right click it, interpret footage. This is like where you interpret your frame rate too. But also there's a loop option. And you can make it loop as many times as you want. 10, 100, 1,000. This is really convenient because it means you don't have to go like this over and over and over again. You know what I'm saying? Like you can, it's just like built into it already. Your life is going to be so much easier. That's what After Effects tricks are. It's just about making your life easier. And so you can see how it's kind of like chattering around in the background. This looks pretty cool. Although now it's feeling quite stale, like it's too still. I need more movement. What was that window? So you see in this project window, and you find your footage, and then you go to interpret footage, main, and there it is, right here at the bottom, loop. All done. So this is cool, although with all these elements, feeling like it's not cohesive enough. That's right. Whenever I'm looking for cohesiveness, that means it's time for another adjustment layer. And I want to try black and white, actually. That looks cool. Now it's like kind of like film noir type shit. And just because we can, I want more grain because it's calling to me. I want more grain. It's got to be monochromatic. I want more noise. Also monochromatic. How about like 20? I don't give a shit. Yeah. And then, let's see. How are we on time, McKenna? It's okay. I'm kind of just wrapping up now.
Yeah,
We're
you're
in
good.
our, all right, sweet.
Oh, that looks pretty sick. It's completely different from the original.
One last pre-comp. For pre-comp's sake, I want to add a little camera shake. So I use the same set of presets that Lige does. It's called Universe and Red Giant. And you can get a free 6-month subscription if you are a student. And once you're not a student, then it's really expensive. And I don't know what I'm going to do without it, but we'll find a way. And it has an amazing array of like just preset effects for After Effects. And Camera Shake is one of the ones that I use the most. Let's see. So amplitude X and Y is just how much is moving up and down. Frequencies, physics, math. You can also use wiggle. We're gonna get into that. But the fun part about After Effects is like forever layering. Forever layering. Don't want that. Don't know what's going on. But we can make it bigger. There we go. So now he's got this nice like, but we need more. You're right. We need wiggle on the scale just to make it feel more alive. All stopwatch, wiggle. And so when I'm wiggling I don't know, like a full thing like this, like not just one effect. When I'm wiggling like the whole frame, I kind of like to make it a little more subtle. So how about like 3 times a second, it moves by like 0.4 amplitude. I don't even know if you can, I can't see. Okay, it's kind of doing something. If we take off the camera shake, we can see how the wiggle just does on its own. Not much, right? Let's go up to 8, just cause. Okay, now that isn't like, it feels like you're intoxicated. That's like way too much, right? A nice fast wiggle at like 3. Too much also, but we're getting there. 1. Perfect, perfect. And then we put the camera shake on. And then one last trick. Thank the heavens for Dave Hess for teaching me about posterized time, which is basically just changing the frame rate without having to go in the composition settings to change the frame rate, right? Because like if I really wanted to, I could go in here and be like 8 frames per second. But then that changes like the exporting and blah, blah, blah. So it's really nice to do it here. 6 a second. Get this nice choppy look. Now it feels super tactile. You show this to your friends and they're like, well, I can't believe you did this analog. And you're like, no, I didn't lift a goddamn finger. So this looks really fun and I'm super happy with it. It's not what I expected, especially with the like back here, like the glow, messing with the glow. We could even go for more, honestly. We were onto something because then it like brings out her silhouette a lot more. So yeah, for me, it's like all about like going back in to like my itty bitty pre-comps, it's like scaling in and then scaling out, scaling in and scaling out. Oh my gosh, your brain feels like jello, but then also like oh my god, the thrill of like riding a roller coaster. So I don't know if you could tell how much fun I was having, but literally every time I open After Effects, it feels like this. It's like this, like the dopamine or like the serotonin receptors, whatever neurons are just going like all over. It's so much fun. Oh my gosh. So wow. Let's reflect on that session just for a little bit. When I'm working in the program, I don't know exactly what I want or exactly how I'm going to get there, as you saw. And a lot of what I'm doing, every time I open After Effects to composite, is just browsing through the effects and plugins tab and like dragging them and dropping them and like looking through all the effects I can choose from and just seeing how they look. And I'm constantly seeking for what feels right, and I always will be. And I'm coming to terms with the fact that that's just an essential part of my process. And that's what like makes my practice really fun and satisfying for me, is like that constant hunt for what feels right. And you can never answer it forever. Like it has to be a case by case basis. So then everything feels fresh. You know what I'm saying? Like every time, I don't know, my concepts and my techniques also definitely just develop side by side, and they're actively informing each other, right? Like I wouldn't have thought to make it look like this in my like storyboarding phase, right? And I think that's also because I'm just more interested and invested in this like post-production / production combined process. So like we started with just sexy boxer lady, and then our techniques came in to elevate that vibe, but then in doing so new concepts came, which then sparked new techniques, and you just like see how it snowballs. And if you're down for the ride, oh my god, it feels so fun. And you're like constantly going back in, refining, feeling what feels right. So that's why I love After Effects. Is it just, I don't know, it tickles that part of my brain in the same way that like in the same way that like really tactile art, like sculpture feels. So yeah, now you're strong. Now you're strong and you know many things. And you can go give it a shot yourself. Oh my goodness, we're already at workshop time. I know we're kind of running out of time also. And we'll get to your questions soon.
There's like been a couple questions. Maybe we should do this and then we'll take like 10 minutes or so to do questions.
Perfect. Yeah, sorry to go overtime a bit.
No. Thank you. Also, just to say, like, that was really incredible and so.
Oh, was it? I'm glad. I was having so much fun. I don't know if you can tell. Next week we have a workshop, and anyone is welcome to participate. So it's next week on Tuesday at 8 p.m. EST, 5 p.m. PST, different time. But I just want you to make a short little clip in After Effects. I want you to just like go in there and like dig in and be confused, but also exploratory, and like switch your attitude to be curious, because that's how you keep going in. You like, it's like the tip of the iceberg. Anyway, McKenna is going to provide a Google Drive link for you guys to submit your work to, and then we're going to have a fun little screening. We're going to compile them and we'll watch them when we begin. Please note that submissions turned in after Sunday night aren't going to make it in, just because like we need the time to put them together. So please, really, if you want them to be screened, try and get them in. And then at the workshop, we'll see how many people submit work, but we'll come back in. We'll be like, this is good. Did you achieve what you wanted? Was there like a technical barrier where you didn't know how to achieve what you wanted? So how can we get there? How can we elevate it, push it further? It's going to be really fun. And while you're doing that, I made a little playlist for you guys to get hyped as fuck to make some After Effects content. We have Mario Kart 8, we have Pokemon Platinum, Kirby 64 feels like you're taking a snort of cocaine, I swear to God. Cooking Mama is in here, and then it like chills out, you know, it chills out a little. By the end, we have some like Minecraft when you're in like a deep contemplative mood or whatever. So yeah, I'll add more to this over the week. And that's it. I think that's it for all I have to share on my end. But I hope you got a taste of like what my little brain is going through when I'm doing all this After Effects shit, and that you can experience it for yourself as well. So yeah, I guess like short question time.
That was incredible. Very like all the comments you should read through because they're just incredible, like amazing. Thank you so much on behalf of everyone here for bringing us in and showing us this. I literally learned so much. You're gonna save me so much time. If we'll stay for like till like maybe 7:15 for questions, so feel free to pop questions in the chat. There's one from earlier that I bookmarked to save, and it was, when you have a project going on, do you usually make style frames to see what you want to create in the final composite? Or I mean, I think you touched on this a little bit, but
I do, and then I start making it, and then I get into After Effects and it just completely changes. So I can't trust myself, because then like it's literally like the second I get into After Effects, I'm like, oh my God, a new world. Look at all these things I want to try, and I get like really lost. So I'm a bit of a scatterbrain in that sense. And working with me requires a lot of trust. Because they're like,
you have well earned that trust just from watching tonight. One comment in particular I just want to point out from Adam Davies. They said thank you so much, and that they've been using After Effects for over a decade and learned so much in just an hour. So I totally agree. I've never watched a tutorial this understandable and digestible. I also wanted to say I absolutely admire your experimental approach to After Effects. I think it just like really embodies like what experimental animation means. And thank you so much for sharing it with the community. Is there any questions? I mean, we also have time to answer questions next week too.
We do. Next week will be super chill. It's just like a day hanging out. For real.
There's a question from Steven. Just another question. There was a tab under the PNG sequence that was called layer styles, I believe. How did you access that?
Huh. Like layer styles in general, or I'm not sure.
Wait.
But to get,
yeah, you could go.
To get to layer styles, you just right click on the layer itself. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going to use my mic.
Yes.
I'm not sure it was actually called layer styles, but it was just under like where transform and stuff usually is.
Yes, I got I was picking up what you were putting down. So
yes,
you just like open it
tab.
right here on this little like bracket tab.
Okay.
And it's right there for you. You can even hide it if you're like, I don't want it anymore. Oh my God, so easy.
Thank you so much.
Alrighty. So yes, this has all been recorded, so it will be online tomorrow through unlisted YouTube playlist. And also next week we'll do the screening, and then depending on time and like how many people submit, which again like doesn't need to be perfect, like just experiment, have fun, please submit because we'd love to see your work. But pending how much time we have, I think Jeanette has so graciously offered to help workshop critique, give advice, answer any questions. So really the opportunity for you to get into After Effects, play around. Yeah.
I see
I
some
have
of these. Oh yes, go for it.
okay. So this is my first time attending one of these types of events. Just wanted to say, hey, that was awesome. I haven't played around with After Effects and very cool. For the unlisted YouTube channel, how do I find that and how do I watch some of the past recordings if there are some?
Yeah, all but one event has been recorded up there. It's accessible through the link in bio on the Instagram, and I'm like working on putting together a website to make it easier to find, and talking about making it not unlisted. It just sometimes there's run into issues as people like screen films that haven't been publicly released yet. But it's through the link in bio on Instagram, and you can also DM me and I can share it with you as well.
Okay, cool. And so next Tuesday, we'll just be going like critiquing anything we play around with. All right, cool. Those are my only questions.
Okay, there is some technical questions. Just wanted to make sure we should only do one effect per adjustment layer, just to keep each effect under control. Is that correct?
Okay, you can put multiple, you can put as many as you want, but just for like tutorial sake, I was doing one at a time. But my personal files are icky, nasty, stinky, poo poo, ugly. So you could do whatever you want, and you can put as many as you want in. You just have to like open each one and dig in, find which ones you were working with and whatnot. But yeah, you can put as many as you want in.
Awesome. Another question, are you thinking a lot about the real world lighting / camera effects you want to create and letting that guide you?
Sometimes, and then sometimes I'm like just lost in the sauce. I don't even know how to explain. But yeah, sometimes I'm like, I want to rack focus right now. And it's really fun to try and recreate that with like these sorts of limitations, right? Because you're like, how the hell am I going to do a rack focus in like this program? Like it's not real, it's not a camera. And so then I think the whole process of recreation also like it changes it and it makes it look really unique also because it's like, oh, that's simulated, but it's also kind of cool. So yeah, it's like a back and forth, but I do usually think about what of the real world I'm trying to mimic.
Amazing. And then in regards to compositing a whole short, do you keep it to one shot, one After Effects file to keep it manageable?
Sometimes I can actually show you my hold on, I can show you what my 48-hour film file looked like. Icky. For my I'm sorry, my brain is all over. For my graduation film, it is one shot. Gets its own After Effects file. Maybe because I hold it in a high regard. But when you're making something really fast, and it's just way more fun to do it this way, it is all in one thing. And it's also fun to make it fast and have it all be in one thing because, oh, Princess, composite, edit version 1. Just know that when it's all in one file, it's really easy to get lost after a bit. Look at and just be like, what does that mean? Oh, you gotta name them well. Yeah, you gotta be organized. So this has my own, like, this is like my mind palace where I know what everything means, but I also know that if someone else was looking at this, you're gonna like throw up. It's like layers on layers of just crap piled on top of each other. This really ugly section. This is all one section, and yet it is so like vertical. And then some are just really chill. Like I love this part, nice and small. But it just depends how your mind works. And be wary, like when you're sharing these files with other people, maybe you can make it a little more organized. But if it's just for yourself, oh my God, it could be ugly. It could be shit. And that's totally fine. this looks traumatizing.
It's like that meme of the guy like with the correcting like the crime case and he's like standing
Yes,
against
oh
the
my God.
board. Like
Don't
that
worry,
one.
it makes sense.
A couple more questions. Maybe we'll do like a power like through them. Taylor asked, when you were making your texture Photoshop loop, were you just randomly changing the position and size of the original image that you had scanned in?
Yes. I just like blew it up and then like moved it around that little thing. Like imagine it's under the camera. It's really helpful. Yeah.
Do you have any YouTube channel specific people or resources online that you used a lot when first learning to use the program?
No. And maybe this is why I love it. I like trauma bonded with After Effects. We went through a lot together. And also I think I'm just kind of crazy because I fell in love with it right away and just wanted to be with it myself. I will get confused on some things like the expression stuff, and then like look up what to do. But for the most part, it was on my own. If I had like a question like how to export, then I would look it up, but never like a tutorial on how someone else is doing it. I just kind of wanted, personally for me, I just wanted to like figure it out for myself.
Amazing. Another question, have you ever played with Betamax video before? Shit's crisper than VHS, but still looks analog as fuck.
I haven't, but I'll check it out. Thank you.
Okay, I think this is the last question. How many revisions do you do when you work with clients? It seems like a lot of intense work in terms of your style.
I've lucked out with really kind, independent, like small musician people. And so they're like, do your thing. And then I just do my thing and I give it back and they're like, wow. And that is definitely not the case for everything. I also work a lot with like friends from CalArts who are making films and they have me just guest animate a sequence. So I am given a lot of trust and I'm very thankful for that. So I'm quite young. I don't really know how it's gonna go with a picky client. We'll see. So usually very few revisions. I would say like under 3.
Amazing. Well, I think that covers it for questions. Another little like housekeeping note, if everyone who registered for tonight's event will receive the link for next week's event, and I'm going to send all the links that Jeanette mentioned in this meeting today, as well as the link to the recording. So look out an email for me because it will have like the export specs and all the details that you need for next week. So you don't have to re-register or anything, and that's good to go. I just wanted to, before we go, just say a huge thank you, Jeanette, because this was just really amazing. And yeah, such a pleasure. Awesome. All right, I'm going to stop recording.